With TMC, life's always pretty. Lively chats to beat so grand. With music and news, it's all combined. Cebu's voice in every line. The most Cebu, always bright. Music on 101.1, day and night. From dawn to dusk, the sounds you trust. TMC Cebu, the best of us. Talk shows, music, news so right.
Maayong adlaw sa kanatong tanan. Welcome to Top of the Morning. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice. This is a program that happens every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 in the morning. Well, usually 10 in the morning. And that's, of course, Philippine time. We're broadcasting here in Tops, 2,000 feet closer to heaven from Tops in Busay and here in the Philippines, of course. And right beside me, we have Raf Chavez, also a fellow Filipino, I hope. I never really asked that question. Are you Filipino, Raf?
I could be American, but
Oh, wow.
I never know. You know, a lot of people tell me I sound American.
Oh, really now?
Pero who knows? Who knows?
Anyway, so good morning, Raf. How are you doing today?
Mang bunda ganin mo da jig. Okay ra ko dire, although medyo nakuan lang jud ko. Medyo naulit ko gamay kay unfortunately we had to start our show a little late today kay late ko nakasaka. So it's my fault. It's my fault. Sorry guys.
Grabe kay sa daghan kay mga panghitabo kada adlaw na lang gyud sa. I was actually posting something a few hours ago yesterday. Nga murag mas exciting man ang news karon. There's so many, so much violence, so much action, so much discovery, so many breakthroughs, so much drama. Nga murag mas exciting siguro ang news kaysa kung mutanaw kag Netflix ba sa? Right? If you think about it, mabuang nga bitaw sa like daghan kay panghitabo sa kalibutan, murag mas exciting man siguro ang kamatuoran, ang kaning real life.
Or basin ni pangit lang jud ang mga salida sa Netflix.
Posiblesad. I was made to watch by my daughter because she said it was I would like it. I tried to watch
okay,
War Machine.
War Machine.
War Machine, the guy who played Jack Reacher series.
Yeah.
I tried to watch it and wa ko nakahuman Mura mag kaning wag yu hinungdan, mura mag predictable kayo. Grabe kay ka-predictable nga nakita siya sa iyahang best friend, naghag-hag sila and all that stuff. And then pag makaingon matay na siya. Di ba? Okay na tabo. True enough, wakabot og 5 minutes ba namatay na yun. Sa mukha, grabe ka predictable gina. I think they're also probably using a kind of algorithm, a kind of AI ba isa? Basig mga tanas sila sa AI ba nga make a script for a show that will become big or something like that, right?
Oh, who knows?
Right, right?
That might actually be the case. I don't know if you saw it yesterday, pero ang atong up next episode yesterday, we featured some local theater talent.
Wow, okay.
And
I actually saw that, but I didn't listen to it as much. What are you guys talking about?
Okay, one of the things that they one of the theater actors, Grant, one of the things he brought up is that how he uses ChatGPT every now and then to ask a few questions.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to like trying to understand the character he's supposed to play a bit more, because that's probably the most challenging part of being an actor. Like you try to really set yourself into the life and mindset of the character that you're reading about.
Yeah, inhabit the character, right?
Yeah, inhabit the character. And he got a bit lost on doing that, and he was trying to figure out like a way to just to break the ice or break this mold that he's kind of stuck in. And he decided, you know what, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. How do you understand this is the character, this is how I understand the character.
Wow.
What do you think? And something like that. And ChatGPT actually did help him break through.
Grabe besa katapulan na ginato besa kay some people actually we know this for a fact because of a lot of documentaries about how movies are made ba nga. Some people actually live with the kind of person that they want to play, di ba? And pinausa ka sa pinakagrabe nga murag, they call that method acting.
Yeah.
Akong naibawan in my lifetime si Christian Bale. Ang grabe jud kayo kanang kung iyang role kanang daot. Murag siya grabe kay sa kadaot physically.
Yeah, lagi.
Unya murag siya mo inhabit gud sa role ba. Unya some actors gud gali. In fact, they say it's difficult for them to murag get out of that character,
Yeah.
even after the movie is done, but there's still that
yeah.
character. One of the more famous ones was that movie, which was done by what's his name? Jim Carrey. He played a comedian. I forgot the name of the comedian that he played. Anyway, he played a comedian, and he was pretending all the time
To be
for
that
the
comedian,
duration of the
filming.
filming that he was that person, right? And even after the movie, he became like this person.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing somebody talking about that.
Yeah.
How even while they were filming, like of course once the filming set wasn't finished, but like once the filming of that day was finished, he would go home, he would hang out with friends in like parties, and he would still pretend to be that guy.
Yeah.
And some people would walk up to him and be like, "Hey, Jim," and no, don't call him Jim, call him this guy. And they were like, "What? That's just confusing."
Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman,
Andy
yeah,
Kaufman,
yeah,
yeah,
Andy
yeah,
Kaufman,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
They're like, no, don't call him Jim, call him Andy. What? Why? He's playing the movie, right? Where he's gonna be Andy Kaufman, yeah. Well, he's still in character right now, and it's like, that's just stupid.
It's just interesting how we're all, they're playing pretend, but just playing pretend going haywire, right?
Yeah, kind of. I think another really famous method actor was like Heath Ledger, right?
Yeah, Heath Ledger
He
too.
was really, especially when he played the Joker.
Oh my
apparently
God,
he was,
man.
yeah, he was. It was really something. Like people talked about him once he got into character. There was no knocking him out.
Scary.
Yeah, it was insane. And a lot of the things that he did in the films as well was like off script.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like what's it called again? Impromptu.
Murag adlib. Adlib siya. Adlib.
Kind of
Adlib.
like an ad lib.
An ad-lib, yeah.
Basically like an ad lib,
Yeah.
impromptu acting,
yeah.
stuff that they added.
Yeah.
Like that moment where the camera kind of pans at the Joker and he's just there like clapping, slow clapping. Apparently that was just him just
really?
getting into character.
Oh, wow.
And it was like considered one of the most iconic scenes in the
Interesting.
film.
Grabe kayo nga imbis ang katuwang aktor nga gi-interview to kagahapon mangita siya og tao nga pareha niya ang iyang gipangita na lang usa ka entity nga makahibaw how a character behaves.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of weird, right? If you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Mura bag ang ato na inuong lugar sa pagpangita sa atong humanity is a non-human entity, right? Right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Mura ga kind of strange twist of fate, right?
Yeah, it is.
Huh?
It is. Especially because you're trying to, I mean, just the fact that you're trying to embody something, especially if it's like a fictional being. Like, how do you do that?
What is
right?
that? I mean, like, if you play a human person, that can't be. I mean, it's fictional siguro in the sense nga,
This person doesn't exist.
the person doesn't exist, but I'm sure that the characteristics of the person, since he is a person, is
It's real.
exists, right?
Yeah,
Exists.
it's real, pero
So
it's not real to you.
Yeah, it's not real to you. Yeah, you're just trying to embody it, and
Yeah.
I guess that's lazy, right?
I don't think so. It's not.
Because the hard version is to actually talk to people that play the character in real life, right? Isn't that
who experience it in
yeah,
real life.
or who is that person? Perhaps if it's like a
based off of a real.
if it's a real person, right?
Yeah, pero in the example you gave, you were talking about like fictional
Yeah.
people and their supposedly lived experiences and
But these fictional
yeah.
characters, these quote unquote fictional people that are played in movies, have non-fictional characteristics, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
and-
human characteristics,
yeah,
right?
they have human characteristics, real.
For example, kasi Joker. I mean,
Oh.
I'm sure we will probably, if we Googled it now, what's his mental condition, right? Yeah, right. Maybe, right? It could be that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like a specific mental condition that he has. What can we Google that? What is Joker's mental condition? Is he like
Yeah, I think it's just like he's just psychotic, man.
psychotic?
Yeah.
Maybe he has like a specific mental disease.
Okay.
Antisocial, yeah.
Yeah,
Narcissist.
antisocial personality
psychotic,
disorder, narcissistic personality disorder,
yeah.
pseudobulbar effect?
Pseudobulbar. So what happens is if Heath Ledger was still alive, and and maybe if we ask him how he played a character like the Joker, he could his potential answer could be, I was with psychotics. I was hanging around in a psych ward or something like that, right?
Actually, if stories are to be believed, the cast kind of like talked about how he got into character, and that wasn't it. He actually just locked himself in a room for a while, and he had a bunch of like Batman comics and basically any kind of comics he could find that primarily feature the Joker, and he was just trying to get into read into the character as much as he could and see what he could emulate, basically.
It's
So it
just-
was
it's
really
a-
just reading the material.
There's just something mythical that happens if a character who plays a disturbed, a character in a movie, if an actor plays a disturbed character in a movie or sings a disturbing song and then end up ending their lives, right? There's something so
Yeah, there is
crazy
there is.
about that, right?
For sure, yeah.
And maybe the song that he made before, or the character that he played before, becomes like clues, perhaps, to why they decided to end their lives. Anyway, maayong adlaw sa kanatong tanan, JR Espinosa. Daghang salamat sa imong pagtanaw sa atong programa. Ang atong mga amigo o mga amiga, my friends and relatives, loved ones, haters and lovers, daghang salamat sa inyong pagtanaw sa atong programa. This is Top of the Morning. I am Jiggy Juice, the radio personality formerly known as Jiggy Jr. Of course, I have moved from that other radio station to this radio station. It is not just a radio station, to be honest with you. This is actually a media center, and that's why we're here broadcasting at the Facebook and on YouTube. Are we live on YouTube today?
Yes, we are.
Also, our friends on YouTube. Hi, guys. Hi, YouTubers. Ang atong hisugutan karong buntaga is actually a very ambitious topic, but this is one that everybody can relate because everybody seems to want peace, right? Even the Joker. Or maybe not, right?
No.
Maybe not.
I think he wanted to see the world burn. it's like that saying, right? Some people just want to see the world burn. And
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of those people is Joker.
Generally speaking, let's just say generally speaking, most of us want peace, right? Ang amo kung unang gibuhat gyud ni Ralph is i-define gyud unsa mo gyud ng peace di ay, di ba? So ang peace tari is a state or period in which there is no war or a war has ended. Another definition is freedom from disturbance, tranquility, right? So mo na definition sa peace. Ralph, nagisgot tag peace karong adlaw man gud is that I'm sure you guys know a few days ago there was supposed to be like a kind of ceasefire. I say a kind of because they were still bombing each other even when they already had declared a ceasefire. I think Israel was still bombing Lebanon, and they're saying na wa kuno labot ang Israel ug Lebanon sa peace, sa ceasefire. Anyway, so we are now, everybody's talking about peace now. So let's try to kaning dig deep into what really is it that we want, right? Nganong ganahan mo kita maghisgot og peace, right? Is it just the absence of war, or is there something more to peace than just the absence of war?
Well, definitely there's a bit more to it than just the absence of conflict, right? I mean, one of the things that was mentioned earlier, right? Like tranquility, a state of harmony. I think that's probably the what do you call this? The essence of peace, because if there's no war, then or there's no conflict, then obviously there's no disorder. It's everything is in a state of harmony. So at its core, it is something more than just the absence of conflict.
More than just the absence of conflict. Maybe it is a state of maybe justice, equity, harmony. How about those key words, Ralph? Is that also part of peace being more than just the absence of war, right?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I do think na in a peaceful society we see a just justice system. I don't know if it's the right way of phrasing it, but like a justice system that works properly. That's what I'm trying to say here.
But there's also a kind of neurological, mental, psychological state of being at peace, di ba?
Oh yeah.
Mura kag, human brain in a state of calmness. that can be achieved even if there's
conflict
going on
Uh-huh.
outside
Yeah,
of you,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Especially katong mga grabe kay mo meditate, di ba nga?
Mm.
Mga meditation gurus, mga advice na to nga, just listen to your breath and all of
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they can actually achieve a kind of peace, but
In a way. Yeah.
in a way, but that's not the peace that we're talking about, or is it? Is that what we want for people to just tune out what's happening in the world? Imo lang pagngon ang mga panghitabo sa kalibutan, pagngon imo ang TV, di ka maminaw sa imuhang sabaan nga igsuon or sabaan nga asawa or whatever para dili ka maminaw sa silingan ninyo nga karaoke
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
para ma-at peace lang ka. Siya. Ana,
Yeah.
is that what peace is?
That's probably it's probably the most achievable form of peace at the
diba?
moment.
Diba?
Just being able to tune out the noise and find your own sense of inner tranquility, something like that.
So bay ngano man kabay? Ngano kabay? Or what is your theory? I actually I'm still confused and maybe you can help my confusion. Ngano man gyud nga di mo kita maka-achieve og peace? Ngano man di unsa man day problema na to? Day ngano man day magdili lang ta mag-away di? Ay nganong mag-away man gyud ta? Why do you think peace seems to be an impossible goal?
Why does peace seem to be an impossible goal? Well, I think first and foremost, human history is very chaotic. Since the dawn of man, since the dawn of time, kay people have been fighting each other over a variety of things. This is something nga started way before we had what you would call modern civilization, modern societies. All the way back nga katong mga hunter-gatherers, but I'm very certain that even all the way back then, people were fighting each other for resources, basically. And at that time, it was something more simple. It was just fighting over food, basically. These days, we don't have too much of a problem when it comes to food. In most places in the world, there are still a few countries, a few areas in the world where food is scarce, but outside of that, generally speaking, the entire world is like we have an overabundance now of food, and our food supplies, like the chain of food supplies that connect the world, it's something unimagined. People all the way back then couldn't imagine themselves like seeing ba. So these days it feels like we're still fighting for something similar over resources, but just different kinds of
really?
resources.
So
yeah.
are you suggesting, Ralph, that all of this conflict kanang mga panghitabo karon sa Ukraine ug sa Russia, sa Middle East karon with Israel and America, this is just really, if you dig deep into the conflict, is really just a conflict about resources. It's not about what they say religion, or is it about politics? Is it about ideology? Resources are needed. If you really, really dig deep into the conflict, is that what you're suggesting?
I think that's probably ang primary nga reason behind it all. All those other things that you mentioned, those could be secondary reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, it really is about these nations being able to secure resources for themselves.
Wow. Wow.
Manang view na
so
at the very least.
Conflict is, and the absence of peace is really just about resources. So nag-away lang ta sa ato ang piece of the pie, di ba? But you mentioned earlier, and I tend to agree with you. There's this concept called abundance, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's actually enough for everybody. It's just that it's not equitably distributed, right? Na mga pobre nga, puwertes ang pobre nga, makita man na to diri sa ato ang tugaran diri sa syudad sa Sugbo, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Nga makakita tag kuyaw kay mga auto, mga sakyanan, mga flashy kay auto. Pero nain tao nga nagdot-dot sa iyang kariton, nga homeless siya, iyang bahay, iyang kariton, di ba?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the traffic gets slowed down. That's a clear demonstration of the inequity of society ba? So even within a society, inequitable na daan, nanay mga dato kayo, nasa dagang kayong pobre. So could it be, Ralph, nga if we and maybe you can join our conversation, you guys. Could it be nga kung ang kalibutan is more equitable, meaning to say minus na kayo og mga pobre, pare-pareho na tatanan, could that mean nga we will be more peaceful? Is that what you're saying? Is that your suggestion?
I think, yeah, I think to a certain
Is
extent.
that what you're suggesting? I mean,
Yeah. To a certain extent, that will lead to less conflict, less fighting.
Okay.
Because I really think a lot of it is about resources. A lot of it is about securing resources for, for yourselves or for your nation, basically. I think that's what's driving a lot of this. Outside of that is, I would consider political influence a type of resource. Would you?
Political influence a type of resource. Political influence. I mean, like, I'm not sure if that's an actual resource, and we're talking about the same resource, because to me, there's something physical about a resource, right? There's something physical about resource. So political influence is probably like an abstract resource. Yeah,
Yeah,
you could say
abstract
that. Yeah,
resource.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, because you can there's such thing as political capital, right?
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. So abstract resource, correct. But let's have another concrete example, which is happening right now, right in front of our very eyes. Iran, right?
Yeah.
That's a country with rich resources, right? They have so much. In fact, they're
Yeah.
probably one of the biggest oil producers in the world. Maybe like top 3, right? Or,
Yeah.
Basta kay grabe ka na sila ka resource, they're actually a very rich country in many ways, right? So what is their problem? They have so much resources. So is it what's happening with them? Is it a matter of other people, other countries trying to get their resources, or is it them looking for other resources? Morang they get into conflict with other nations. Is that what it is? Because to me, Manggod, in my eyes, when you read the papers or watch the news, it seems to me their conflict is really ideological, political, religious, and all of that stuff, right? So kaning kung resources atong gistoryaan, kaya na kay Iran. Uy,
Yeah.
dili na sila manginanglan og tabang sa uban kay daghan man kay sila kwarta, makapalit man sila whatever they want, right?
Yeah, true. That's a good point that you're bringing up. It feels like to me as well. This is for Iran specifically.
Yeah.
This might be more than just about
Resources.
because they should be self-sufficient in a lot
Yeah.
of ways.
Yeah.
But because they choose to engage in conflict with others, to fund proxy organizations to fight on their behalf. I think part of the reason why they started doing that is because
Ngano man ba? Ngano
they
kinanglan man
wanted
sila
to-
og Okay, maybe you can give our listeners. I actually tried to understand, and it's too complicated for me. Maybe you're better at distilling by unsa magining away din nila sa Iran ug sa Israel by. Mura man complicated kayo, di ba? Kay it's so complex, right? But in a nutshell, this is ideological, right? And maybe perhaps religious.
a lot of it is either I think it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
For it's ideological in the sense there are two ideologies at play here, but both of these ideologies just happen to be rooted in religion. The Jewish religion and the Islamic religion. The Israelis are really pushing this idea that this is the promised land, the land that's promised to them, basically, and this is why we deserve it. The land called Israel right now, and a lot of people are like saying, okay, that's your land, and then why are you trying to expand into other people's land? Maybe you want more than just that. So, and given the fact that Israel has actually grown in size since it's since its inception, it's kind of like a valid concern, I'd say. And meanwhile, on the other side, you have the Iranian regime, which is primarily, I would say, a jihadist regime. They believe in the holy war, and the unfortunate thing there is that this belief calls them into action. You need to start fighting the
Oh.
infidels.
Oh,
Basically.
okay. So that's the perhaps the non-Islamic world.
No, that's the Iranian regime.
Yeah, yeah. So when you say infidels,
Yeah, the infidels.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
the
yeah.
non-Islamic
So
world.
if you're
basically.
not if you belong to another persuasion, non-Islamic, so you're an infidel,
Yes, yes.
right?
That's the
So
belief.
kaning Israelis, they're mga Judaism nila, di ba?
Yeah,
Mga Jews.
Judaism.
So marami silang naamgin is like problema, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So my next question would be, do you think these leaders by Netanyahu and the son of the Ayatollah Khomeini, I can't pronounce his name,
It's still just call him Ayatollah because it's still the same.
Ayatollah, right?
Mhm.
Do you think these guys actually believe in what they're preaching, or is this just a way for them to control their people, to make sure that their people are on board and will act accordingly to what they want? Do you think they sincerely believe in this? Because I think it seems to me that this is a conflict, a war of ideas,
Uh-huh.
more than a physical war of
Mhm.
bombs and drones and stuff.
Mhm.
It's a war
And
of ideas.
resources.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about that is, even if I do think they don't actually believe these things, the problem about these types of deceptions, these types of lies, is that if it's repeated, enough times, it kind of becomes the truth to you. Like the more you repeat a lie to yourself, the more it will feel like the truth. Because at that point you're lying to yourself and you've accepted the lie as truth.
Yeah.
So even if I think to myself, nga, I don't think they actually believe these things. I think that they've said it long enough. They've said it as many times enough that now even they believe it's true.
They believe in their own
they
story,
believe
right?
in their own story, basically. Manong view na ko with regards to that. So I think they've bought into it themselves.
So, diba, one of the reasons why they're at war is supposedly for regime change, diba?
At least on the American
Yeah,
side.
on the American side, that was one of their main goals, diba? And it hasn't happened yet. Although the Iranians are, greatly diminished, almost obliterated to the dark ages, but not quite, right? The regime change that they have been talking about has not happened yet. So, kanang regime change ba? It's supposed to be change of, put simply, diba? Change of leadership, diba?
Yeah.
Somebody that perhaps the West can control, maybe a less radicalized, diba? Less radicalized
at the very least.
leader, diba?
Oh.
So, what is radicalization? Ang pasabot niya na nga grabe kayo sila ka attached to their story, to their religion, to their narrative, diba? To their ideology. So we want somebody who's more open-minded. So again, it goes back to my original idea, ba nga this is just a war of ideas. Nga kung ang usa ka tawo dili na kay siya radicalized, di na kay siya fundamentalist, di na kayo siya grabe ka rooted to the teachings of the ideology or the religion, then maybe he's more receptive to other ideas, right? Other ways of being. So this is still a war of ideas. So, and then you put us in the backdrop of the age of information ba? Isn't it a better strategy by to use the age of information, use the internet, use technology to change the hearts and minds of a people so that they will become less radicalized and maybe perhaps less of a country that's willing to nuke an entire nation. Do you think that's a better strategy, or are we doing that? Maybe maybe that's what we should do instead of bomb each other.
Well, that's the thing, right? Supposedly, in the age, supposedly the abundance of knowledge is supposed to help us get rid of what do you call this? Our backward beliefs, backward ideas, and maybe our
Replace them with new ones, yeah.
replace them with new ones, right? Supposedly, but the thing about it is what's happened in this age of accessible information is that people have figured out how to counter that. And you counter that by basically flooding the information streamwaves with misinformation and disinformation.
Okay, I agree with you, but isn't this whole this whole structure, isn't this whole web of information primarily developed, invented by, created by the West? Don't we have like a major? Aren't we like major players? The free world.
Yeah.
Wasn't it primarily created mostly by the
West.
free world, right?
Yeah,
So
by the West. Yeah.
I can imagine us having more control over it. We have more muscle to flex in terms of bending a particular storyline to our direction, to our advantage. Dili ba? Or sayop ko, sayop
I don't
ko.
think that's been the case. If
Okay.
you look at especially what's been happening with the U.S. Iran conflict, what was very interesting throughout the whole thing. I don't know if you noticed this, but it was kind of happening on Twitter. A lot of people were sharing or X, however you guys want to refer to it. A lot of people were sharing AI videos
Yeah.
of like of Israel being destroyed by Iranian missiles and U.S. fighters being captured by the Iranian regime, and then all of it was AI, and then you could like clearly see.
Or some of them were actually old footages of something that happened a long time
no,
ago.
they were all AI.
Okay.
They were all AI,
Okay,
and
okay.
a lot of them still had like the watermarks.
Yeah.
Made by Sora, and then.
They didn't even care to remove the watermark,
they
right?
care to remove the
What
watermarks.
I saw though was the Lego representation of
Lego.
of the war, right? Did you see that? Did you see
No,
that?
I didn't see that. I just saw the AI ones.
Anyway,
that
so
look like
but
real
this is
people.
fairly new and only happened during the war, right? Or at least not that we know of, right?
Yeah,
But
oh.
I can imagine siguro nga this has been happening for a long time.
For a while, yeah. But the thing is, like, I think even before that, my point of bringing the AI stuff up was a lot of people bought into it.
You mean like nailad sila?
Yeah, nailad sila.
Okay.
A lot of people were actually under the belief that, oh, yeah, we destroyed Israel, bro. And stuff like that.
Really now?
Yeah, a lot of people
Wow.
bought into it. And the reason why I bring that up is because some people have already set themselves to a particular mindset that they didn't necessarily argue themselves into. And because they've got it so stuck in their head that this has to be the truth, you can't argue them out of it. So even if you present them with the right information, they will treat it as misinformation, basically. So I think even all the way back then,
but isn't it just a
even
matter
without AI,
even isn't it just a matter of time, bay? Do you think that a person, because he arrived at a kind of ground
Conclusion.
truth
Uh-huh.
because of what he saw, right?
Ground
And
truth.
maybe what he saw on social media, right? Because you said na ilan mga sila, di ba?
Yeah.
So he arrived at that. He didn't just. It was not naturally implanted physically in his brain. It was he had to see it, right? And then once he believed in it, isn't it also just a matter of time exposing that same person with countervailing evidence, countervailing videos, of the opposite? Maybe in time, makonvince na sila or nikuha na sila, ni dig in na sila. Wala dili na gid mahusab.
The reason they quickly bought into it, Unjud, is because partly because of their own personal biases as well.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, basically it was confirmation bias
okay.
that they were looking for. It was a mistake for the U.S. to attack Iran because Iran is powerful. And that kind of
So
mindset.
so your bottom line is that the same instrument, which is the internet, that can use to help inform the world about what it really is and our real and true circumstance. It can also be the same instrument that people can use to become more radicalized and more fundamental.
Yeah. Yes. Basically.
So I guess is that the more important battlefield, you think? Is that the more important place wherein we should be pouring in more resources, is to change the hearts and minds of people? Or are drones and bombs
The easier.
the easier way to go about for us to achieve a kind of world peace?
I definitely think it's going to be, education. Education is the way to go. But the biggest problem is, this is something that somebody pointed out as well. Politics actually shapes a lot of the educational material.
Correct, yeah.
And because of that, the U.S. has, for a while, the U.S. was very, what do you call this? The Red Scare and all that, and that push was largely in academia, and then it shifted because the people in academia we're
Becoming
we're becoming the Reds basically in a way, in a lot of ways.
just a kind of
Just an example.
brief history. I think the Reds were the Russians, right?
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
that there was the Cold War happening, so they
Uh-huh.
vilified, they demonized the Russians. So
anything like remotely close to that ideology was also like immediately, you're a
but
red, you're a
dugay na kayo
red.
ni San Anabay,
Uh.
but this is like back in the 50s, pa, di ba?
Yeah, yeah.
And until now, there's such thing as a red tagging in the Philippines, di ba?
Well, that's in the Philippines. Yeah, in the
but
Philippines.
that came from that idea, di ba?
Yeah, yeah.
The color red, di ba?
Mhm, yeah,
And all
exactly.
of that stuff. And I even was wondering, somebody posted about a Moraga New People's Army was hiding that girl. Did you
I
read
saw
about that?
I saw that.
And I was asking my friend, do these people still exist? I mean,
Mm.
like, number one, in the battle place, in the marketplace of ideas, I think that idea has lost out. And if anything, that idea is having a moment now, and it could come back and all of that stuff. But there's a better way to push your idea.
Mm.
You know, I think hiding in the mountains is not the best way to go about it anymore. I think you can just talk about it openly.
Mm.
In fact, in some countries, in many countries, a communist party is a legal political party, right?
We do have a legal
Yeah.
political party here. That's
So I'm just wondering, do these people still exist? Are there still actual people who are hiding in the hills instead of going out there and pushing their agenda on the internet?
well,
Or both? What is it? What's happening?
they're doing both now. They're
Okay,
doing both now.
okay.
Basically, we do have the legal arm basically of the communist movement here in the Philippines. We do
The
have
public facing,
the
ano?
public facing
Okay.
side of it things, and
So legal na siya ba?
yeah, they're the legal side.
Pag man na, di ba?
No,
A few years ago ba nga na-legalize ang Communist Party ba?
Really? Was it only a few years ago?
Fairly, maybe like 10 years ago or less than 10
Yes,
years ago.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
But I'd say that's a long time now.
Okay.
The thing is, like, they're doing both now.
Mm.
Yes, there are still a lot of people who end up going to the
Mountains.
mountains.
Nga naman ba? Nga no?
It's gone. For me, this is just my belief on it, and maybe a lot of people will get mad at me because this is a rather hot topic for my alma mater. A lot of it is just this feeling gani of there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do on our own through the legal system. The system is so rigged against us that we won't be able to achieve our goals through it. So we feel the need. A lot of people, especially in the younger generation, I believe, feel. I don't know if it's still as prominent, but like usually this happens. I think a lot with people who are younger because they're more idealistic. There's this prevailing belief nga going through the legal system is not it's ineffective basically, and it's so ineffective. The only other option to them is armed conflict. They want to overthrow the government because they feel the government is just never going to cater to their beliefs, what they think to be true, and the solutions that they propose. So because of that, there's still a lot of people who want to bring about change. I think the base desire here is they want to bring about change. They want to help the everyday Filipino. They want to be able to help the poor, and they buy into the belief that the only way to achieve that is through armed conflict. And it's really there because from how I understand it, these organizations, the NPA, they go specifically after the most idealistic people, because or at the very least the people who care enough that they start up kaning mga community based nga programs. I happen to know a few people who started up like kaning mga community programs to help to help the poor, to help the disenfranchised, people who were affected by typhoons, people who were affected by the Marawi siege. And they reached out to these people to try to recruit
So
them,
I
basically.
noticed you said they feel like they are helpless. They feel like the system
Doesn't work.
is rigged against them, right?
Yeah, like that.
So
Yeah.
could that be that point that you just mentioned? Could that be the point in which a war breaks out? If a country, if a person, if a group of people feel disenfranchised, if they feel that they're helpless, gubat na lang ta.
Not
Is that what it is?
not necessarily
Are
war.
are we getting to the bottom of how conflict breaks out?
Not necessarily all out nga battle conflict, but
Yeah.
violence.
Yeah.
This is the
Well, yeah,
point
yeah,
where
yeah.
violence basically becomes
Peace.
yeah. If
Yeah, yeah.
if you don't give people enough of an outlet through to achieve to achieve change through peaceful means, to achieve dialogue, to achieve change through dialogue, then the only other option is violence.
Or naghisgot ka ba nga, these people try to convince the most idealistic individuals, right? So
or what feels like it. Yeah.
what is idealistic? Mura siya, murag their ideas are not rooted on the ground truth, right? Mura og ilahang idea sobra na kaayo ka murag peaceful maybe, I don't know, like it's so pure, right? So ang ilang mga ideas in their heads are so pure, their beliefs are so pure, nga dili pa muddled by the reality. These are the people that can easily be converted. Is that what you're saying?
That's what it feels.
Idealistic?
That's what it feels like to me at the very least.
Do you mean
because
idealistic or do you mean innocent? Like kanang marog naive? No, not necessarily.
I maybe it's a mixture of both. Maybe it's a mixture of both because personally I believe that what they're doing right now, it's not really changing anything. I don't see a world where their current fighting force overtakes or overpowers the armed forces of the Philippines. I don't see a world where that happens. So what they're doing is pointless to me in my eyes. They may say that we're just we're in it for the long fight. We'll get our small wins here and there, and then one day the people will side with us. I don't see that happening. I don't think that's very realistic at all. I don't see. First and foremost, because I do think we still have a lot of people in the Philippines who generally dislike the communist ideology.
Yeah.
First
we
and foremost.
we talk about this specific thing here in the Philippines not because we want to talk about it. We're actually
Yeah.
talking about peace now.
Yeah,
So we're trying to get to the bottom of how we can achieve a kind of peace, right?
Yeah.
And we don't need to look far. We can just look at what's happening under our noses, right?
Yeah,
in Cebu,
exactly.
in the Philippines, right? So kana imong gisgutan is actually a kind of microcosm of conflict in general all over the world, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think conflict all around the world
Yeah.
follows similar
Similar patterns,
yeah,
diba?
similar patterns.
So they have an ideology, right? They believe in how it's supposed to be done.
yeah.
Right? But see, the thing is, I mentioned earlier, in the marketplace of ideas, that idea is actually, if you think about it, has lost. Right? The wall of Berlin has fallen, and blah 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 blah. By and large, democracy is ruling the world, right? But now, as you notice, there's a kind of resurgence to that idea, diba?
Yes.
So
there is.
maybe there's another way to fight this ideology, to push this ideology. Maybe again, let's go back to what I said earlier about what we can do in the Middle East. Maybe this is also a war of ideas
Yeah.
again, right?
Yeah. I definitely think it is. I think we established that earlier.
Yeah.
as well.
And this particular story is also a war of ideas, right? So instead of going to the hills, instead of trying to enrich yourselves with uranium so that you can make a nuclear bomb, why don't you just try to convince the world about your ideology? And the other way around too. And nagisguta a few episodes ago nga only 20% of the people in Iran still believe in the regime, right? A great majority of the people of Iran want change, di ba? So akong pangutana niya na sunod siguro is like 80% is being terrorized, controlled by this 20%, right? So this is actual physical coercion, di ba? And sometimes mura man sila gi-massacre, di ba? So, ang akong pangutana siguro niya ni sunod bay is kaning majority of the Iranians kung ato lang to silang gipasagdan ba? Kung
Mhm.
ato lang silang gipasagdan dili nato, but sa kalibutan ba?
Mhm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Do you think eventually, if we slowly gave them the resources to start an uprising, hinay-hinay lang ba? Murag kaning take a bit of time ba instead of doing the lazy thing. I think it's the lazy thing to bomb, to resort to war. Maybe we could achieve siguro an actual regime change that's from the bottom up.
Mm, well, I don't know. I don't know about that because uh the thing is like the reason why 20% of Iran was essentially able to dominate 80% of Iran is because the 20% had all the weapons.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to see a world where the
But
20%
you,
would just democratically just
Yeah.
step down
Be-
because 80% of the
before
country
you
doesn't
continue,
like them.
mind you, it wasn't like that in the beginning, right? Because this was a popular uprising. The Ayatollah started back in 1979, came to power because of a popular uprising, a revolution, right? So it's because of their very coercive and restrictive ways, they slowly became unpopular. So it wasn't like they started with 20%, right? Mura man ni siya nagka-unpopular ang regime, di ba? Dili man siya ingon nga unpopular from the beginning, right? They became unpopular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and largely because of the economic situation of the country. Basically, the IRGC led to, which was supposed to become the better leaders because they were democrat. They were it was a kind of democratic uprising
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
There are you even saying, I heard this
Yeah.
uttered somewhere nga, if of all the nations in the Middle East, the Iranians are actually the ones that are more in tune with Western philosophy, right? I read
Really?
that somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I don't think so.
Anyway,
I don't think so. But
okay, yeah.
anyway,
Uh.
regardless of that, I think that it may have started off well for them in terms of general what do you call this?
So-
General acceptance of
But
the
eventually they
population, but
became
eventually-
unpopular. That 80%
Yeah.
did not like them anymore. So, ang atong tuyo sa gubat supposedly ilang tuyo is to effect regime change, but now of course they can't, or they haven't, and now they have given Iran a new lever of power, which is the Strait of Hormuz. Samot na ni gubot ang lukot, di ba? Samot na ni ka complicated. Now they have an opportunity to not just destabilize the region but destabilize the world, and that's exactly what's happening right now. That's why ang atong gipangayo ra gyud mga kaigalaan, kibaw mo, kibaw ko, kibaw tang tanan nga ang atong gipangayo ra gyud is peace para lang ang presyo sa gasolina mo us-us in town. Kay murag pag-drive na ko diri sa Taps, murag sigo pangawot sa akong uo nga way katul kay porting mahala na gyud sa gasolina. So I think niubos magamay bay pag sugod sa ceasefire niubos mga 10 pesos, 12 pesos sa ako ang gas station dito sa may Mandawi. So I hope nga magpadayon na ni siya nya magtarong na ni sila kaning meeting karon mga weekend, di ba? Sa Pakistan, di ba?
Mhm, yeah,
ang
yeah.
ilahang meeting. So I hope nga kaning ilang meeting will become fruitful, and I really think bay nga you're absolutely correct. I believe in what you said nga this is really about education. Right? This is really about education. Ang pangutana lang kinsa may magkupot sa curriculum.
Yeah,
Kinsa may
manang pangutana jud.
Kinsa may magkupot sa libro, 'di ba? 'Di ba? Nagingon man sila there's a cliche that goes something like the history is written by the victors, right?
Yeah, basically.
uh.
And depending on who will hold the pen for this new education system, basically, I think that's the key to actually being able to form better better ties with the global community,
Yeah.
and hopefully lead to a more, at the very least, a less radical
Yeah.
nga government.
Yeah. You know what? Uh, when I was thinking about talking about this particular topic, right, which is peace, I actually started re-listening to one of my favorite books of all time, audiobooks of all time, kaning Cosmos. I'm sorry, Pale Blue Dot by Carl Sagan. And I think you guys, first of all, I suggest that you read it or listen to the Pale Blue Dot. I think it's a beautiful book. It gives us a kind of moraog, it gives us a kind of grounding, right? On how sorry Ralph, I actually accidentally stepped on Ralph's face. Sorry, man. It gives us a kind of grounding on how we should look at the world. And it's actually very important to understand we don't have all the answers. And it's all right if we don't have all the answers. And whatever it is that you believe in, our friends in Iran or whatever place in the world, I mean, it's nice to have something to believe in, but that's not the full story. That's just your side of the story. And understand, there is a group of people, maybe not even in another country, maybe in the next neighborhood, nga wa na tuo sa inyong mga pagtuo, or do not believe the way you believe about how the world should be. And that's okay. Okay ra gyud na siya. Because we're all different, right? So maybe you can start talking about what's common. I mean, kung tanawon mo ng mga Israeli, ka ng mga Iranian, mga Amerikano, pareha raman na sila na yung mga mata, na yung mga ilong, na ay malibang kung puno na. So, pareha ra gyud tatanan in many ways. So, kung hunaw-naon nimo, nga mag-away pa man ta. Nag-ingon si Ralph kaganiha nga ang atong giawayan is about resources. That's absolutely correct. But in this modern age nga nag-imbento na ta og farming and livestock, daghan naman kayo tag makaon. Daghan naman kayo tag mga resources. So maybe another force at play here na is dili na resources, maybe greed ni gyud siguro. Right? Maybe we some of us want more than everybody else, right? So I don't know. It is actually a very long conversation on how we can achieve a kind of peace. And my favorite author when it comes to peace has always been kaning educator and historian Steven Pinker. I always love to quote back to one of his more popular books, katong Our Better Angels. If you look at big history, if you telescope out 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, 500 years, kung imong tan-awon in a graph, in a bar graph, there's actually less war, less suffering, less hunger, less poverty now. If you look back at big history. So he's saying we're actually living in the best of times now. And we have some setbacks. I'm sure the graph will change after this war will be inputted in the graph, right? But more or less, we're still living in relative peace. And I hope that bigger trend continues. Although it's being challenged. That trend is being challenged by all of the conflicts that's happening now in the Ukraine and Russia, and now, of course, Israel and the USA versus Iran. I hope that things will change. But I think we should be patient also. I think it's important that we understand that this is really just the way the world works. It's all a kind of cycle. and peace is a fluid, a revolving idea, and peace becomes more beautiful after after a war.
At the very
you,
least-
you appreciate it more,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you appreciate it more because you just came from this kind of like immense nga stressful event. So, yeah, of course, after these types of things,
Yeah.
people will tend to appreciate peace, tranquility a bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why people start out conflicts, huh? Because they know that afterwards it's gonna be euphoric
Yeah.
if they achieve peace.
Yeah, man.
If they achieve peace.
I really sincerely believe, Ralph, nga, I don't think peace can ever be achieved through war. This is a comment from Cliff Royd Madera. True peace can be achieved if we fully do what John Lennon of the Beatles said in his song Imagine. Or Tony Stark said, true peace can be achieved if you have a bigger stick than the other guy. So deterrent, the
Yeah.
deterrent concept,
Yeah,
right?
the deterrent nga concept.
So
yeah.
I sincerely and totally believe, Ralph, nga, I don't think peace can ever be achieved through strength, through war. I think there's a better way to achieve it, and I think we have built the perfect instruments for that, and we just have to make sure that we can use it properly. And I think education is the best way to do it, and because of the internet, I think we will have to be more proactive, and I think we have to develop ways and means in which we can penetrate our ways of looking at the world that will generate a more peaceful, peace-loving people. I think, and maybe work with the world when it comes to trying to creating a kind of unified message. I think maybe that's what they should do, right? I mean, I know nga China is also becoming an AI powerhouse, right? With DeepSeek, di ba? Napa ba sila lain ng mga kuan ba, ng mga AI kuan brands dito aside from DeepSeek, or this is just
I'm
Why?
actually not familiar with the Chinese nga AI brand.
did you ever try to use it? No.
No, I haven't said.
Okay.
I've mostly stuck with Gemini and ChatGPT. I haven't really explored anything
Okay.
outside of that. I did try that. What was it called? The music making one?
Suno,
Yeah. I just tried it out because I was like kind of interested. Like, what if I give it like a really weird topic?
Okay.
And let's see what kind of music it will come will come out. It was pretty funny. Yeah, I basically put in like I think, make me a cowboy song about Sinulog in Cebu, and something really funny did come out of that.
Kana bang kang Cliff ba nga
The bigger stick.
there can only be peace if one party is stronger than the other. Right?
Yeah.
Nga ma-dominate nimo siya nga
Not necessarily dominate, but I think the thought behind it is that, like you're so strong, the other guy knows that he can't fight you. Otherwise, he's just completely gonna be destroyed.
Is that a sustainable way of achieving peace?
I don't know about sustainable, but I think realistic.
Yeah.
I think it's more realistic, just in terms of like how people usually think.
Diba,
But-
let's give it let's bring it down to more concrete example. Kanang bully sa eskwelahan, di ba?
Yeah.
Sige
Yeah,
na siya, sige siya pagpamuli, di ba?
Oh yeah.
Pag human all of a sudden na siya gibully nga nibaos niya or nisukol, di ba?
Yeah.
So niundang siya pambully, di ba?
Something mo depende guro. Kay naiuban nga kuan sila. Ay, masukol de ka. Mukuan ko. Mo double down ko.
Mo double down ka.
I'm not gonna
Okay.
stop doing this.
Pero
And
at least
I know I'm stronger
pero
than you. So,
mura siya magpanagana na siya og pambuli. Kay nana musukol din ni day. Diba?
Naiuban nga.
Naiuban nga musukol, di ba? Nga although probably kung mupadayon pa siya pambuli, pero dili mura siya nana siya gamay nga apprehension ba kay kibaw mo siya nga musukol katuuna kay
Yeah.
freewheeling ra mo ko tayong pamuli karon nga murag nanay resistance gamay, di ba?
it's not necessarily resistance. Ang resistance alone. Kay if ang huna-huna sa mo bully.
Sa bully.
If ang huna-huna sa bully is that ay kanay mo resist siya, that's not really a problem kay mas dako ko, mas kusgan ko niya, mapudayon ko. Pero if the resistance na imong gihatag sa iya is enough to overpower him, di na siya makuha nimo kay nasa iyang huna-huna nga ay murag mas kusgan man kaysa nako, murag delikado kung mukuan ko.
Dili mo gina mahitabo siguro bay nga ang usa ka tawo, usa ka entity, usa ka nasod nga forever na siyang bully, forever na siyang powerful, di ba? Di ba? We all know nga, again, we talked about this before nga, it was Great Britain who was the superpower before, and it was replaced by the United States, and they're saying sooner or later China will replace the United States in terms of being a superpower. So kanang imuhang pagka-bully, kanang imuhang pagkakusgan, dili na siya forever.
Yeah.
Di ba?
Yeah.
So I think we should everybody should know that. Right? And bay kani bang ato ang conversation ba? I don't know why ba, pero I get dragged back to the idea of kani bitong concentration of power.
Yeah.
Kanang mga social media sites, 'di ba? Mga AI, 'di ba? Kanang murag ang mga naay gahom sa anang dapita diha, which is probably the most important things that we have now in the world. Gamay ra man sila, 'di ba? There are only a handful of people. We can even name them, 'di ba? Silang Mark Zuckerberg, silang Elon Musk, 'di ba? Silang Jeff Bezos. Gamay kailatan nila kay they're probably number one, the richest people in the world. They're billionaires.
Some of the most
some of the most richest people in the world. And number two, we all know nga they own such influential and powerful companies, di ba? Amazon, SpaceX, and all of that stuff. So, I think, kay para nako magud kanang concentration of power is what happens if more unchecked lang bitaw. And do you think ba nga the world is better off nga wala tay one? They call this
superpower.
They have a term for this. A monolith. They have a term for it.
Monolith.
Hegemon, right?
Hegemon.
Like this one power. Do you think we're better off as a planet, and we can achieve what we talked about in the get-go, which is peace, diba? If we're more equitable, if all nations of the world are more equitable, do you think that's a better world, or is it necessary good for us to have like a kind of United States, as kind of superpower to rule over everybody else?
I really don't know about that actually. Just looking back at kanang human history, and when I feel like countries or nations were a bit more equal in terms of strength, kay it feels like people were still like, you know what, sa akong mood karon, I feel like taking a bit of this land over here. I think I'm going to take this. And this like people or not necessarily people, but like nations were still led, it still got to the point na the leaders felt like, you know what, I want more. And this is at a time when these were like neighboring countries, and even before we got to the point nga we formed nations, even at tribal nga levels, this was still kind of a thing. So I generally
what's a kind of thing
like conflict, like people suddenly being like, and this is a time when everybody was basically like just using sticks, stones, and wooden spears.
Tirador.
Yeah, mga inana nga style ba. So even at that point, I think people were still, I think, at some point ang kaning mga tribes kaya they ended up with a leader that was just like, you know what, kuan din na to. Feel na ko mas deserving man ta ani kumpara na nila. I think it just gets to that point, Jude. And I think that's been the case throughout all of human history, and to pretend as if there's this prevailing belief nga.
Anong kuan man niya ba? What makes him think that they deserve it more?
I don't know. It's just kind of like a mindset that has persisted.
I think maybe you can expound on that. Maybe kuan ni nato ba kay para makapakaot ta sa atong mga tao.
Oh, yes, probably something like that.
Para di ta maglisod og pakaon sa atong mga tao ning kuan nilang yuta diri kay kaning grabe kayo motubo diri ang kaning whatever
Yeah,
crops,
yeah,
di ba?
yeah.
So kuha na to para dili ta magproblema sa sunod nga summer, di ba? Sunod nga drought, di ba? Something
or
like that, di ba?
or if winter, if they lived in those types of climates. And I think this has always been the case throughout the entire world. There's na prevailing a belief gani nga the global south, the people who weren't the West, not Europe, not the US.
Asia.
Yeah, Asia and all the other countries basically lived in this like more peaceful nga unity daw kay we weren't like the big colonizers like everybody else. But the thing is, you could see it through Chinese history put the warring kingdoms. They were constantly in conflict with each other. Probably the biggest reason why, despite their landmass and population, China never became like a superpower in the global stage is because they were constantly infighting. There was so much infighting in China that they didn't have time to, turn their weapons at everybody else. And I think you could see that also even in our country, I think, because because of how fragmented the Philippines was back then, the Visayas, from how I remember sa among mga history lessons, we were ang atong ancestors here in the Visayas were described as pirates, basically. Nga we would raid mga merchant ships that would pass by. We would take.
This is before the
This
Spaniards?
is before the Spaniards, yeah. So this is it's like, I don't know, conflict has been such a big part of human history, and it's prevalent no matter where you go in the world. I genuinely don't know if we're all equal in power, let's say. Military strength, economic strength, it's all equal. I genuinely don't know if that would necessarily cancel out the desire for conflict.
So a more equitable world does not necessarily mean a more peaceful world.
At least I don't know if it does.
And we have not lived in a more equitable world,
So we haven't seen it happen.
so we don't know if it
if it's
happens
true
or not, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Maybe if we do achieve it, we'll see.
Maybe during the Dark Ages, maybe that was a more equitable world, right? Right?
Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe it was a good thing for Donald Trump to say we're gonna bring you back to the Dark Ages. Maybe we can go back to a more equitable world.
At the very least for you guys.
But I think the conversation of peace is an ongoing discussion. It's an ongoing conversation, and we should talk about that because I think especially for future generations, I think the idea of peace should and how to go about it should always be a topic of discussion because I just realized something ba nga. Di ba, you often hear people saying sige lang storya way gibuhat, di ba? You hear that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Sa termino la kaning mura og storbot lang ba?
Storbot.
Storbot. Firepower up the wazoo but no trigger finger. Ano bitaw? But I just realized ba nga, wait a minute. All of these things that we're fighting about are stories. Right? So, of course, importante ang pag-istorya. Right? Because kung makigubat magay ka sa usa ka nasod, makig-away may ka usa ka tawo, dili man na walay rason, nagsugod man na sa storya. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe even kung magstoryanay lang mog tarong, dili na mo maabot anang point nga maggubat pahinuon mo. Di ba? So, I think kanang people who talk a lot are maligned to say, sige na kagstorya. But the truth is, kung mag-istoryanay mo, kung mag-istoryanay ta, dili ta magbinumbahay. Okay, sige mo tang istorya, di ba? So maybe maglalis na lang siguro tabay, di ba? Magstoryanay na lang siguro ta para dili ta mag-away or mag-away magalita pero ang atong bala mga words ra.
Pwede.
Right? So if you guys want to join the battle of words,
Battle of words
that we are trying to foster here in this radio station, I think you should join our conversation. Kung naamoy mga topics diya nga ganahan natong hisgutan, ganahan ninyong hisgutan namo, please. Kay wala man gyud tay topic ngay off limits ba isa? Murag kani si Ralph, piligro kay ni si Ralph, grabe kini ka kuan ka opposite ni siya sa kaning fundamental. Unsa ni siya kaning marag open mind kini siya sa tanan. Grabe kini siya masig unsa lang hisgutan ning Ralph kaning off cam off mic so grabe siya hisgutan mo ni Ralph. Murag kuyawan jud ko sahay.
Sa sobra ka open-minded.
Sobra ka
nataga ka utok.
Matagak iyang utok. So if you want a particular topic that you'd like us to discuss, maskig gugma na, maskig sex na, maskig kaning about na sa world peace or what not, join us and then comment in the comment section of our YouTube page and our Facebook page, and please keep the conversation going because I think the way to peace is good conversations. Daghang salamat sa inyo ang pagsalmot sa among programa. We call this show Top of the Morning. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice.
And I'm Ralph Chavez.
And please join us in our future conversations every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Top of the Morning here on 105.1 TMC.
The best of us.
With music and